Good morning, Tampa Bay. Happy Wednesday, Hump Day edition. Channelside in the morning live on the Channelside Sports Network. Almost say Velkommen. Almost. We can almost say it. Buccaneers traveling to Germany on the plane to Munich. They got a tough. I'm telling you, it's going to be a tough day at the office for these Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday, playing against the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of people aren't giving the Seahawks credit, even though, and we'll talk about this when I get into my power rankings. The Seahawks are in my top 10. I mean, we can't ignore the Seattle Seahawks any longer. They're in my top 10 for the power rankings. We'll get into power rankings in just a moment. I want to talk about NFL running backs values. Assessed off of their contract. Who's the best value running back? Who's a not a good value running back? I can tell you one person right now who's not a good value running back, and you already know who it is. We'll talk about that. We'll dissect that down a little bit. Also, we're going to talk about the Lightning. Unfortunately, they dropped close battle last night, 3-2 over to the Edmonton Oilers. Nikita Kucherov kept his streak alive, as our Henry Yoho just wrote about and published this morning. The Lightning have taken 5 out of a possible 8 points to start the month of November. Not a bad start. This Atlantic Division is definitely a hell of a lot better than we thought they were ever going to be. Coming into the season, I assume we all figured that it would probably be 4 teams possibly coming out into the playoffs. 3 for sure, but there could have been a 4th team coming out of the playoffs. But here we are. The Lightning are sitting 4th right now. The Bruins are kind of running away with the division. We're still waiting for them to slow down. They have not slowed down. So we'll see what happens. Maybe the Bruins finally slow down. Lightning are on the road on Friday. They'll take on the Capitals. We'll see if, keep that... continue to get another point, see if Kuch can keep that streak alive. And then the Magic tonight. Magic have the Mavs tonight. They've already played them once, and they fell, unfortunately. 114 to 105 in their first meeting just a couple of weeks ago. We'll see what they've learned. We'll see if they can bounce back. But before we get into that, we're going to we've got to jump into the power rankings. We'll pull these eyes up right now. Here we are. Not much has changed. Still got the Eagles number 1. I do have the Chiefs over the Buffalo Bills for the second position. Look, that loss to the Jets, I get it. The Jets are also, they're kind of on that same level as the Seattle Seahawks, where people just aren't giving them a whole lot of credit and a whole lot of shine. But it's still a divisional loss, and it's still a loss to the New York Jets. Kansas City just keeps rolling, right? It doesn't matter who Kansas City plays. It doesn't matter where they play. Kansas City just continues to roll, which is a testament not only to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but also to Andy Reid continuing to keep this train, steaming ahead for the Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo, like I said, I've got Buffalo. Buffalo dropped to number 3, and if Josh Allen happens to go out and Case Keenum has to play on Sunday, Chris Trapasso from CBS is thinking that that's kind of going to be a storyline here for the Buffalo Bills, is that Allen's going to be questionable all week because the Bills don't want to show their hand, but he's likely not going to play on Sunday. That's a huge loss. We know this team can't run the ball. We know this team needs they need Josh Allen. Unfortunately there's no other way to put it other than they need Josh Allen, right? If Josh Allen isn't there, this team is in trouble. They can't run the ball. Now, Case Keenum's formidable enough in the passing game. Obviously you don't replace a Josh Allen, but Case Keenum is formidable enough to where he's able to, still get Gabe Davis involved and Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox. And he's still able to move the ball down the field, which is kind of why the Cleveland Browns fans last season were calling for him to start over top of Baker Mayfield, although that's not what ended up happening. but that's a huge loss. Huge loss. Obviously, we'll go through our pick'ems tomorrow, Thursday, favorite day of the week. And I guess it depends on where, we're not going to get any actual news on Josh Allen. I assume it will be a game time decision, and that game time decision will be that Josh Allen is sitting out with an elbow injury. So he'll be on the injury report today, I'm sure, just as well as Thursday and just like Friday. Maybe logs a limited practice. Like I said, I really feel like Sean McDermott is going to play this very close to the vest and not show his cards up until the very last minute. Because look, the NFL is still, yeah, sure, they battle on the field, but there's reason, like, we know the injury report was realistically created for gambling, right? That's realistically what it was created for. But it has become so much more than that also, right? Like it really has. The injury report nowadays, you look at it and go, okay, yeah, like Julio Jones, limited practice. Don't expect him to play because he's aging, right? Like that. It tells the full story of what to expect, not just from the gambling aspect, but in general. It just tells the full story. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think Sean McDermott's going to be playing chess all week with Josh Allen. I'd be surprised if Josh Allen was announced to be out before Sunday's kickoff. Like game time decision, never mind, he's out. Minnesota at 4. Look, I know Minnesota has only lost one game, but it's tough. Minnesota is a tough team to, no matter how good the record is, Minnesota's just a tough team to get behind, right? Like they're doing all the things right. Zadarius Smith is the only guy with double-digit quarterback pressures in 2 games this season in the entire league. PJ Hawkinson was highly involved on Sunday. Who would have thought that Hawkinson would have been so largely used and such a big part of that offense on Sunday? That was pretty impressive. Kirk Cousins, I feel like a Kirk Cousins apologist or an enthusiast, because every single week you look at Kirk Cousins and go, damn, Kurt just gets it. You take Kurt out of regular season games, you put him in no primetime games, right? No primetime games, no playoff games, and you've got yourself a very damn good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He's top 6 nearly in every metric, every single year, nearly every measurable statistic, every single season. Unfortunately, he just can't get it done in the playoffs, and we've learned that about him. He just can't get it done in the playoffs, and it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you got to win in the playoffs. And there's always something, like I said, there's always something for me. There's something always about the Minnesota Vikings that just makes it hard for me to completely buy into what they're selling me, because there's always that uncertainty. Maybe this season is different, and also maybe we're just kind of, maybe I'm just kind of burned or tired of being burned by the Minnesota Vikings and saying, yeah, I think this team is ready to make the leap, because I don't know if they'll make the leap. The Miami Dolphins move up into my top 5. The Dolphins are just the scariest offense in the league, without a question. To me, it's not even a question. The Miami Dolphins are by far the scariest offense in the league. I don't care what defense you are. I don't care if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't care if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Rams, the Bucs. I don't care who you are. You don't want to play against this offense. Tyreek Hill's pace is absolutely insane. The numbers that we're seeing from Tyreek Hill, they're just ridiculous. And I know somebody's going to go, well, 17-game season. We're not worried about the 17-game season, right? Records are going to fall. Justin Jefferson is second in the NFL in receiving yards. He has 867 receiving yards. Tyreek Hill's got 1,104. And that was with a rookie quarterback. That was with Teddy Bridgewater, and that was with Tua Tagovailoa. I'm it's what Tyreek Hill is doing right now is just absolutely insane. 76 receptions, leading the league. Obviously leading the league. He's not scoring many touchdowns, but he's still also the number one fantasy wide receiver, and he's not scoring touchdowns. Like, how many times do you see that? Tyreek Hill realistically can get 2,000 yards this season. It's a very, very strong possibility. Dolphins have played 9 games. Tyreek Hill is averaging 122 yards per game. That's on pace right now for 2,085 yards. The possibility of him breaking 2,000 yards this season is very good, and Tua is going to be the quarterback that does it. I've been a Tua guy all along. I was rooting for him when Brian Flores wasn't rooting for him. I was rooting for him, to come back from that injury. I'm not an Alabama fan when it comes to college football. I respect what they do. I respect what Nick Saban's doing, but I'm not an Alabama fan. So like when what really drew me to Tua was when he suffered that serious hip injury and wanting to see this guy overcome it and wanting to see this guy kind of come back and just play better and bounce back and live up to what we thought he was going to be. That's what I wanted for Tua. That's what we're getting from Tua this season. Absolutely fantastic. The Dolphins are I said this as soon as the moment they signed Mike McDaniel. This is a tremendous and fantastic signing for this Miami Dolphins team as their new head coach. He's an absolute genius, especially in terms of just play creation, and we're seeing it play out. And this Miami Dolphins team is not a flash in the pan. The trade deadline, they went and they got Bradley Chubb. Their defense is just going to pick it up, and I'm looking at the Dolphins likely propelling forward up my power rankings, and I would not be surprised if they end up cracking the top 3 this season. I got Baltimore at the number 6 position. Look, Baltimore is still a revolving door at the running back position. Luckily they've got Kenyon Drake in the backfield there. He's able to hold on. He's been able to do some great things for them while J.K. Dobbins, came back from injury and now he's out again. Gus Edwards is out again. Lamar Jackson is still on an absolute tear in terms of what he's the type of season that he's just putting together. He's on an absolute tear. He's no longer in the top 5 in rushing, which I'm not happy about. I wish he was still up there, but he's not. Lamar is 18th in passing yards, 1768. Look, and I know what people are saying. Well, it's because he's a running back. Well, he also didn't have any wide receivers. Rashad Bateman's out. Duvernay's out. He's got Deshaun Jackson now, but he had Deshaun Jackson for 1 game. Mark Andrews has been out. Like, he doesn't have anybody. That's the problem for Lamar Jackson, is he doesn't have anybody. While sure, he's sitting 8th or 18th in terms of yards, he's also in the top 10 in quarterback rating. That's what I'm using to assess. Right? He's got 62.3% completion rate. Number 8, top 10 in quarterback passer rating. That's what I'm looking at. He's thrown a few more interceptions than he normally would. He's also been sacked 20 times. All right, we talk about Tom Brady a lot. Tom Brady's been sacked 14 times. Now, that's more than Tom Brady is normally sacked. That's more than Tom Brady likes to be sacked. But Lamar Jackson is really out there kind of on an island because he doesn't really have anyone outside of Kenyon Drake. Maybe, just maybe, Baltimore will get him a receiver next season. Who knows? Look, as much as I want to talk about Lamar Jackson coming to Tampa, next season's not it. It's not going to happen next season. Yes, they could do a tag and trade. It's possible. I know there's also an internet narrative, which I talked about yesterday. These internet narratives when it comes to sports are just ridiculous, and the fact that so many people buy into them is it's laughable. There's no way that Baltimore is just going to let Lamar Jackson walk. You don't do that with a former MVP. You don't. So the internet narrative of Baltimore will not hold Lamar hostage is absolutely laughable. It's ridiculous. There is absolutely no way that Lamar Jackson is going to walk scot free from Baltimore and they're going to get nothing in return for him. That's not going to happen. It's an internet made up narrative. Just like the Buccaneers abandoning the run, which we're going to get back into in a moment after we finish the power rankings. We've got to stop using made up storylines and start getting back to facts, man. Like we're all entitled to our opinions, right? We're all entitled to our opinion, but damn, man, like there's people out there that are legitimately saying, and this is catching on. There's legitimately people out there saying, they're not going to hold him hostage. They'll let him leave. If he doesn't want to sign the franchise, if they offer him the franchise tag and he doesn't want to sign it, they'll just say, yeah, you know what? You go ahead. You can leave. That's not going to happen. Lamar's not going to sit out because we've seen players start doing that more often. But I'll tell you what, we're seeing players now that are doing it and they're regretting doing it because when they come back, it ain't the same. Look at Le'Veon Bell. Look at what happened with Le'Veon Bell. He sat out, didn't want to go to didn't want to play in Pittsburgh anymore. He sat out, went to New York, fell completely flat on his face. That year off of rust does accumulate. Sure, you're not taking hits. We'll probably see the same thing happen with Deshaun Watson when he comes back in week 12. He's coming back soon. We'll probably see that. You got to watch out. Taking that time off is just as bad for you as it is good for you. So taking that time off is not something that that's not something that I would expect Lamar Jackson to do. He's a competitor, man. I would not expect Lamar Jackson to do that. I've got Dallas at number 7. Yeah, Dallas is a solid competitive team this season, guys. I know we like to clown. I know we all like to do it, myself included. We like to clown on the Dallas Cowboys, but we've got to be honest here, is the Cowboys are a real team. The Cowboys are a formidable team this season. The Cowboys are they're a force to be reckoned with, man. Cowboys defense, one of the top units in the entire league. Cooper Rush held that team afloat. Dak is back. We're not sure what's going on with Zeke. However, Tony Pollard is there. So if Zeke is struggling, it's not that bad of a thing for the Dallas Cowboys. Because Zeke is struggling. You got Tony Pollard, man. Michael Gallup is coming back. CD Lamb is stepping it up. I was very vocal about CD Lamb early in the season where I thought that he was a product of Amari Cooper. I was wrong. CD Lamb has stepped up tremendously and he's played very well. So the Cowboys are able to score points. They're able to roll and their defense is just good. Number 8. There they are. The opponent for the Buccaneers this Sunday in Munich. Number 8, the Seattle Seahawks. Never would have thought they'd even be top 15. Let alone number 8 in the NFL. But I mean, that 6-3 record is not by mistake. That 6-3 record is because this team is very good. They're very solid. They're very capable on all 3 phases of the game. Very capable team. Geno Smith has got them rolling on offense. Kenneth Walker III. I was very big on Kenneth Walker likely taking over the starting role from Rashad Penny. Obviously, that happened due to injury. But I really, based off what we saw him do at Michigan State, you have to respect what Kenneth Walker can do based off what we saw him do at Michigan State. Put him behind the offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. Now you've got to, the proof's in the pudding, folks. Look at what we're seeing from Kenneth Walker. Now that Akeem Hicks is back, I'm feeling better about the Buccaneers' chances of slowing down that run game. But DK Metcalf is just an absolute freak of nature in terms of his size and his ability. So you've got to watch out. You've got to watch out because DK Metcalf is going to be a very tough day at the office for our secondary to cover both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is a burner. We know that we struggle with burners in the secondary. Cooper Kupp burns us. Tyreek Hill would burn us. Like, we struggle. Cooper Kupp is he's obviously Cooper Kupp is a better wide receiver than Tyler Lockett is, especially at this stage in his career. But Tyler Lockett is very good at what he does, and that's running straight down the field and catching a hell of a lot of deep balls. That's what Tyler Lockett has made an entire career out of, is doing that. So let's look at Tyler Lockett and go, damn, here we go. I got the New York Jets at number 9. Another team that I did not think would even come close to sniffing the top 10. But here they are. All of a sudden, look at this AFC East. Look at this AFC East. They've got 3 in the top 10. That's pretty impressive. Hell, in the NFC East, I've got the Giants at number 11. The Giants are just outside of the top 10. You got the Eagles 1, the Cowboys 7, the Giants 11. NFC East, AFC East are putting in work this season. And the Jets are for real. They just knocked off the Bills, and they didn't knock off the Bills like by luck. They knocked off the Bills because they played the Buffalo Bills very well. Robert Saleh's got that defense going. Sauce Gardner has been an absolute beast in the secondary this season. They've, obviously they lost Brees to a knee injury, but they've got Michael Carter. They now have James Robinson, who put together a great start to his career in Jacksonville, despite all of the nonsense going on in Jacksonville, and Urban Meyer not playing him in Jacksonville last season because he didn't like James Robinson's ability in his offense. There's a reason why Urban Meyer is not a head coach anymore, and that would probably be one of them, outside of kicking your players and just being an all-around douchebag. But the Jets are, the Jets are, I don't expect the Jets to finish as a top 10 team. I think at some point star power just starts to outweigh teams where your star players in the latter half of the season just start to step up. And the Jets don't really have anybody like that yet. I think this is a kind of like a Cinderella story. If I'm looking at all of the teams right now in my top 10, I think the Jets are almost like a Cinderella story. Right? Like, we knew the Dolphins were going to be good. And if you didn't think the Dolphins were going to be good, shame on you. Right? Kansas City, I thought was going to take a step back. I still expected them to be a top 10 team, but I thought they were going to take a step back. They'd be floating around that 8, 9, 10 area. But there they are, number 2. Baltimore, you expected. Dallas, you always expect Dallas to be in the top 10 for a while and then just kind of fall apart. Same thing kind of goes with the Minnesota Vikings, right? That's why I have a hard time jumping on the Minnesota Vikings bandwagon, because you can always just kind of expect them to sort of just fall apart towards the end of the regular season and kind of lose favorable playoff rankings and seedings. And that's just kind of what you expect. We knew the Bills were the favorite to win the entire thing. Super Bowl champion Buffalo Bills is what a lot of people were preaching, including all sports books. Our good friends over at BetUS predicted that as well. Also predicted our Bucks would be the NFC representative, but what I find crazy is that the Eagles were 3rd in most sports books behind the Green Bay Packers to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I don't understand how that's a pop. I knew this coming in. I tried to tell every Packers fan. I tried to tell all of my friends that are Packers fans. Why are your expectations so high? Why do you think you're going to be such a great team? You lost the best wide receiver in football. There's going to be regression. You had to salary cap casualty release Zadarius Smith. Sure, the Packers defense is holding up and they're playing pretty well, but you can't, just like the Arizona Cardinals, you can't just lose pieces and not replace them and think that all is right in the world. Do you really think that Sammy Watkins was able to even be a shred of what Devontae Adams was? Like, you're out of your mind. Sammy Watkins is a bust. Sammy Watkins had maybe one solid season in his entire career. He's been often injured, and otherwise he's just been an irrelevant wide receiver. Randall Cobb's on IR. Romeo Doubs, like, I don't know why Packers fans thought that they were going to be a top 10 team. And I don't know why the sportsbook thought the Packers were going to end up being like the second best team in the NFC. Like, we've got to stop giving Aaron Rodgers that much respect. To me, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, rounding out the top 10, I've got the San Francisco 49ers. I know. Someone's looking at it going, the 49ers, with their record, look, the 49ers, they had the bye, right? I know the Giants had a bye as well, but the 49ers got better. The Giants didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. The 49ers got Christian McCaffrey, who is, so far, what we've seen as a San Francisco 49er, and even his last couple of games as a Carolina Panther, Christian McCaffrey, almost back to form, but at least he's healthy. And a healthy Christian McCaffrey is still a top 10 running back in this NFL. He's still a top 10 running back in the league if he's healthy. We're seeing a healthy Christian McCaffrey. You can't tell me you're going to have a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in Deebo Samuel, a top 3 tight end in George Kittle, a top 10 running back in Christian McCaffrey, and then a top 4 defense, and this team is not a top 10 team. Again, this is prime real estate for Jimmy Garoppolo to shine. You surround Jimmy Garoppolo with good and solid talent, and he will perform. He will be serviceable enough to get you to an NFC championship game. We've seen it twice already. We've seen him get to an NFC championship. We've seen him get to a Super Bowl. We've seen this movie twice. This is the third movie of this trilogy for the 49ers. We've already seen it. Would they have been in a better position with Trey Lance? Nobody knows. Trey Lance is very unproven, but the 49ers gave up a lot of draft stock to move up and get Trey Lance. And he's missed 2 seasons. Right? He's missed 2 full seasons. All that draft stock and you've missed 2 seasons if you're Trey Lance. Not a solid day. Not a solid day. Bad, like, sometimes the guy you think is your guy turns out to not be your guy. That is the dilemma that you have with the draft. Is you just have sometimes your guy is not your guy. And it is what it is. Bottom of the hour, we're going to hit a break real quick. We'll get back. We'll talk a little bit of Lightning, and then we'll look ahead to the Magic's game tonight. And we'll wrap this thing up. We also got to talk about the running back values. This is very important to me because I've been preaching this all week. I've been preaching this for maybe 2 full weeks. So after the break, we'll jump into the running back values. Then we'll wrap it up with some Lightning and some Orlando Magic talk.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
Hey guys, it's Danny for BetUS.com. Head on over to BetUS.com. Use the promo code Channelside to sign up your new account. They're going to hook you up with 125% deposit bonus. Trusted in the game for nearly 3 decades. Hey, the Magic are underdogs tonight against the Mavericks. Maybe you like your odds. Go open up a new account, use the promo code Channelside, hook it up with 125% deposit bonus, throw some money down on the Magic to upset the Dallas Mavericks tonight, and enjoy your spoils. All right, guys, we got to talk about these NFL running back valuations. You know I've been very, very hard on Leonard Fournette. I've been very hard on the weird made up storyline that the Buccaneers are abandoning the run, which we know they're not. We know the Buccaneers are not abandoning the run. We know that that Leonard Fournette is a top 11 running back in the league in terms of the amount of carries he has. This is the guy that wanted top 10 money. You guys remember that, right? I want to be a top paid running back in the league. Well, Leonard Fournette has an annual value of $7 million, which is currently good enough for the 28th position. That's right. You heard that. He's currently number 28. He's played 73.53% of his snaps. I mean, it's absolutely egregious. He's behind guys, bigger contract guys. Like, look at Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's making $16 million annually. Okay. This is your telltale sign. Everybody says Christian McCaffrey's done, myself included. Christian McCaffrey's done. He's history. He's not going to be able to bounce back. Now, obviously, his situation has changed a little bit, being traded to the San Francisco 49ers from the, I guess we can't even call it like a cesspool in Carolina anymore because they beat us. But he bettered his situation. He went from a non-contender to a very legitimate NFC contender in the playoffs. We can say that, right? We can all agree with that. Christian McCaffrey's 18th. He's 10 spots up in terms of value over top of Leonard Fournette. Remember Jamal Williams? I talked about Jamal Williams is number 10 in terms of carries. 5 more carries. Got 126 carries to the 121 carries that Leonard Fournette has. Jamal Williams is the 11th ranked running back in terms of value. Largely in part because he's just behind Nick Chubb for the lead in rushing touchdowns this season. But I mean, this list, you just go through it and you go over it and you look at these guys and go, okay, so Derrick Henry, $12.5 million. That's $5.5 million annually more than what Leonard Fournette is getting. But Derrick Henry is a top 6 running back in terms of value to contract. Again, we're looking at things that matter. If you can't run the ball, if you're struggling to break a tackle, if you can't force missed tackles, these are things that are on you as a running back. If you're frustrated and you're going to throw a hissy fit, that's on you as a running back. But Rachaad White, do you remember one of my hot takes to start the season is that Rachaad White would take over the starting role before the end of the season? I think that's coming sooner rather than later. I really think that we're going to see Rachaad White starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sooner rather than later. I think Leonard Fournette has kind of overstayed his welcome. I guess it depends on how he continues to react to losing snaps to Rachaad White. I guess that's what it depends on. But he's still not doing anything with the ball. To get paid $7 million AAV, it's unacceptable. Honestly, it really is. It's just, it's to me, it's absolutely unacceptable. That's something you make an offseason move. Whatever. Like that, to me, it doesn't matter. Anything that you can get for him, I know his value's low. Hell, call up the Detroit Lions and get DeAndre Swift. We know that the Lions are kind of over DeAndre Swift because he can't stay healthy. That's fine. Call up the Detroit Lions. DeAndre Swift's value is low right now as well. Call him up, get DeAndre Swift. Then you've got a 1-2 punch of two running backs that can perform both in rushing and in passing in DeAndre Swift and Rachaad White. Done. Now you've sold it. If DeAndre Swift can't stay healthy, great. You've got Rachaad White there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. Ronald Jones is a free agent. Kareem Hunt will be a free agent. Jamal Williams will be a free agent. Saquon will be a free agent. Josh Jacobs will be a free. We don't got a lot of money to make a big move. But I'm pretty sure we could kind of figure some things out. I'm pretty sure the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could kind of figure some things out. I think that Leonard Fournette needs to, I'm telling you, he needs to be moved unless he really kicks it into overdrive and finishes this season better than what we've seen. But if you're valued at 28 in terms of what you're getting paid, combined with the output that you're putting out on the field, you're not worth it. You're not worth. And look, somebody's gonna look this up, and this is on Spotrac. Someone's gonna look this up, and they're gonna go, well, Zeke is making 12.5 and he's lower than him. It's because Jerry Jones is an idiot. Jerry Jones signed Ezekiel Elliott to this insanely stupid contract. And for what? What reason do you have to sign Ezekiel Elliott to the contract that you signed him to? Oh, well, Alvin Kamara is getting 15 and he's ranked lower than Leonard Fournette. Again, Alvin Kamara earned that contract with what he did on the field. Alvin Kamara earned that $15 million annually. Ezekiel Elliott earned that $15 million annually. Maybe. Well, I guess, yeah, Zeke. We got to remember, Zeke, when did Zeke sign this contract? He signed it in what, 2009? 6-year. 6-year, $90 million contract is what Zeke signed. But also, guess what? After this season, there's a potential out for the Dallas Cowboys. They can cut him, and they'll only have $11 million in dead cap space. There's a potential out, and I would not be shocked if Zeke finds himself on the open market next season as well. I wouldn't be shocked. Now, I would not take Ezekiel Elliott. Let me be honest, I love Zeke. Zeke is one of my favorite players in the league. Don't ask me why. I can't tell you why. But I would not take Zeke over Leonard Fournette. I would take Kareem Hunt over Leonard Fournette. I would take DeAndre Swift over Leonard Fournette. I would take Josh Jacobs over Leonard Fournette. There's a lot of guys that I would take over Leonard Fournette. Rachaad White is already here. So give him the ball. Let him do his thing. Let him run with it. Rachaad White's going to be on a rookie contract for the next 3 seasons. There you go. You have a 5th-year option to pick up. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at if I am the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You've got to shed cap space. Leonard Fournette is one of your top paid players. Shed the cap space. If I pull up the cap tracker and I look at where the Buccaneers are, let's look up the Buccaneers contract real quick. We'll do this on the fly. So Leonard Fournette next season, what's his cap hit look like next season? Yeah, so Leonard Fournette, again, another $8.5 million cap hit. $5 million in dead cap space. You got to move him. Obviously, Tom Brady's got a $35.1 million cap hit next season. There's nothing you can do about it. Chris Godwin, again, a $23 million I mean, the Buccaneers are the look. We know that the Bucks are going to be in trouble next season, right? We already know that. We know that the Buccaneers are going to be in trouble next season with the salary cap. So just start shedding some guys. Shed it away. Maybe Tom Brady comes back. You never know. Maybe Tom Brady does come back. And then that $35 million is not just completely wasted dead cap space, right? But if you do a restructure of Chris Godwin's contract, boom, you save 12 years. I know you're adding voided, or you save $12 million. I know you're adding voided years. But you're going from 48 million in the hole to 36 million in the hole. Donovan Smith no longer able to be restructured. But you could do guys like Shaq Barrett. Save another $8 million if you restructure Shaq Barrett. Now you're 27 million in the hole. You're starting to redo it, right? I would not even worry about, like I said, for me, I'm not even concerned about restructuring Leonard Fournette. I'm moving him out. I'm moving Leonard Fournette out. Restructure Vita Vea, you save $9.1 million. And these are just simple restructures. These are not complex restructures. You've restructured 3 guys and you're now 18 million in the hole, and that's it. Mickey Loomis figured it out. You don't think Jason Light can figure it out? And he signed Honey Badger. And he signed Jarvis Landry. Move Leonard Fournette. Go to the Detroit Lions. I'm just going to do this because I'm very interested in this. If you trade Leonard Fournette to the Detroit Lions, give them a draft pick too. Who cares? Throw in a draft pick. You trade Leonard Fournette to the Detroit Lions to get DeAndre Swift. You are now going to save $3.7 million in cap space. You're now going to get a much more elusive running back, a much more pass-friendly catching running back. Leonard Fournette's boom and bust compared to DeAndre Swift's boom and bust is a landslide in favor of DeAndre Swift. Landslide. Make the move, guys. That's all you got to do. Carlton Davis is going to be on the books for a lot next year too. We're going to have to figure out what to do with Carlton Davis. Well, we're going to have to do a salary cap show probably later in the season though. It's too early to get it too in depth with that. Let's jump into the Magic, shall we? We got 17 minutes left or so. Let's jump into the Magic. Got the Mavericks tonight. They lost 114 to 105 the first time that they played. Sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. The Mavs are favored tonight, obviously. Minus 111. Minus 7, I guess, is what we'll do. In terms of the point spread. Eventually the Magic are going to figure it out, right? The first game that they played against the Mavericks, RJ Hampton, KJ Harris both scored double digits off the bench. I talk about this a lot. We need bench production. They had bench production. We'll see. We have to see what they learned since the last time they played the Mavericks. Obviously, there's been some games in there, but we know that Jamal Mosley is going to be breaking down the film of the last game that they played with against the Mavs. You can't control Luka shooting 17 of 25 from the floor. You just have to accept it and roll with the punches and move on from it, right? There's nothing that you can do. For me, the issue for the Magic is kind of picking up where they left off last season. 5 of their 9 losses this year have been double-digit leads that they've blown. We talked about this a lot last season. The Magic not knowing how to play with a lead, not winning these close games. And just this is the difference. If they hold on to those double-digit leads in 5 of those 9 losses, this is now a 4-loss team. And it's completely different. It's a completely different outlook than a 2-9 team. Eventually, and I know we're going to keep saying this, but eventually they've got to learn. And it's not you have to be realistic with it, right? I can't sit here and say, well, I assume that they're going to. I think they're going to. I know they're going. I hope they. At some point, you've got to just put your head down and you've got to get to work. That's the only thing that you could say about them. Eventually, all of it has to work out the right way. Otherwise, you have to. Otherwise, you have to go in a different direction. The Magic are currently sitting 27th in the NBA power rankings, which with a 2-8 record's not. I mean, sitting 27th is not bad. 28, they got the Hornets 3-7. You got 2-8. I'm sorry, they're 2-9. The Pistons at 29, and the Rockets at 30. Obviously, the Rockets got one off on us, which I'm not happy about. But it's a young core. I feel like we harp on this a whole hell of a lot. It's a young core. Dallas is young too, right? They had 12 turnovers against the Mavericks. The Mavericks had 4 in their first meeting. Are they going to learn from that? Are they going to clean up those turnovers? Or are the young guys going to do what young guys do a lot and try to overcompensate for that and go, well, hey, Luka shot 17 to 25 from the floor. Someone's got to match it. We got to do it. And then people are just going to start firing stuff off. Like, we don't want to see that. Right? We don't want to see that. Eventually they've got to just step up. They've got to put their nose to the grindstone, and they've got to make the proper changes and get some consistency. They've got to learn how to play with a lead, most importantly. We're talking about 5 double-digit loss blown leads in their losses. 5. They've done it 5 times. And they were up by 20 over the Kings. I know the last second 3-point shot in overtime. But look, it's a loss. And it was a 20-point lead. It should have never even went to overtime. But it did. If they had 15-point lead, 17-point lead, 11-point leads. They've been all over the place, but it's been a double-digit lead. We know that they know how to battle back. They've been down double digits in damn near every game. All but 2 games have been down by double digits. We know they know how to battle back, but you've got to learn how to play and hold on to your lead. Once you do that, this team it's a completely different animal at that point. But you've got to learn. They've got to make that adaptation into their game and put that into their repertoire of just, I know how to hang on to a lead. If we get up by double digits, sorry, we're going to close. We're going to close out when the fourth quarter, when that buzzer goes off and the clock shows 4 zeros, we're on the winning side. We've got the winning tally. This is what the Magic need to learn how to do, is hold on to the lead. Sure, they can beat the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, it's kind of looking fluky right now. They played fantastic. Steph had almost 40 points. They played great against the Warriors. But you've only got 2 wins. You've only got 2 wins. You blew out the Hornets, but you let them kind of battle back. You've got to start cleaning that up. You've got to start playing a little bit better. Because like I said, eventually that's all going to come back and that's all going to bite you in the ass. And you're going to be stuck. You could go into the second half of the season and surge. But if you're going to dig a hole this deep in the first half of the season, it's going to be very, very difficult to get yourself out, because this division is actually playing pretty. The division is playing pretty well. Right? The Pistons are now 3-8. I think by stat, let me see here. All right, so the Rockets are still the worst team in the league. The Lakers are the second worst team in the league. The Magic are the third worst team in the league. But we've got promise. The Lakers, I don't think the Lakers have promise. The Rockets, I don't think they have promise. Right? We've got pieces. We've got a lot of pieces in Orlando. They just need to come together. They just need to come together. And hopefully it starts tonight and they start a little streak because they still got a couple more home games before they hit the road. So we'll see what happens. It's going to do it for us today on Wednesday. Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. I am Danny. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow. NFL Pick'em Day. Gotta love Thursday. It's my favorite day. Hop in the chat, tag a friend, tell a friend. Let's do some pick'ems tomorrow. I want to hear your takes on the games, on the slates that we're going to cover. Hopefully we got good news to talk about with the Magic. Or if they happen to lose, I still, they haven't been blown out. That's the only, that's the woosah moment for me, is they have not been blown out. Make sure you follow the Channelside Sports Network on all of the social media platforms. Just search for the Channelside Sports Network. We're all over the place. Yes, every social media platform. I have a Pinterest account. We have Pinterest. There's nothing on it, but there's an account there. So maybe we'll have recipes or some other cool stuff that you would see on Pinterest. We'll be back tomorrow. NFL Pick'em Day. I'm Danny. I will see